It's a matter of fact.
I haven't been a speaker for 10 years. Mojisola Obasa understands the intricacies involved in the removal and replacement of a speaker. Democracy should start from the top down. But unfortunately, our leaders don't even know what democracy is all about. For them, it's all about power, grab it, snatch it, and run. This is the speaker, and he's telling you that the fake maize was used. I mean, this is not the first time we're hearing about fake maize being used. It simply shows that there is something terribly wrong in terms of leadership in this country. So who is really demarketing this country? Please watch this video.
Just listen to this. This is supposedly a woman of God during a new child's naming ceremony.
Nigeria, Baba Timothy, automatic year 16, 8 million total. Israel. Akọ́dẹ́dẹ́, èmi ti ẹ̀dí bíbélì ilé ọlọ́wọ́ láti òní lọ. Lórílẹ̀-èdè Nàìjíríà nínú àwọn tí wọ́n máa fi bá rò fowó Nàìjíríà jẹ. Orúkọ rẹ̀ mọ̀rùn. Ẹ bá ṣàmì dáadáa. Ọmọ ìbá ti gómìnà kò léwọ̀, ọmọ ti sẹ́nitọ̀ kò léwọ̀. Nínú àwọn tí wọ́n máa fowó bá rò fowó Nàìjíríà jẹ.
Jesus Christ, what is really going on in this country? How did we get to this level of decadence? Mother is dedicating a child. And rather than dedicate this child to God with good principles, good mannerism, they're just encouraging this child from birth to begin to learn how to use biro to steal. Who do we really blame? Do we blame the mother of the child? Do we blame the woman that has been called to dedicate the child? Or do we blame the kind of leadership that's been bestowed on Nigerians? We all know, some of the alleged sins of Obasa. Some people say he built a gate with 16 billion naira. Some people say he bought fleet of cars for himself and some members of the State House of Assembly. Some people say he was just appropriating money to himself and to whoever he wished. And we also hear that he owns, like he's becoming the entire land, the only landlord of Agege 1. The question is, what was he before he became a speaker? Bola Ahmed Tinubu, who has held sway in Lagos for as long as he could. It's the same thing. You move up to the southeast, Governor Hope Uzodinma is there. You go to the north, the former governor of Kano State, Gandoje, is there. There is no part of this country you go to today that the leaders have not been accused of being the brains behind corruption, behind embezzlement. A lot's been going on politically, especially in Lagos State, with the estranged speaker, Mojisola Obasa. I've talked about this before. I've opinioned that the bubble is yet to burst, and it's about bursting. And while everybody thinks everything has cooled down, with Mr. President formally welcoming and endorsing the new speaker, something else is played out. Listen to this video.
Must do what? Let them do. If I'm not carrying the members, no, that is second. Yeah? The second. So we will discuss that, not now. At my own time, when everything has been addressed, I've come back to you and I'll explain everything. We have documents to support whatever expedition we have incurred in the Lagos State House of Assembly. And if any other person believes contrary, let them read their own document. So we will from that document to supplement the same officer. Also, just to tell you, they said they had an ambition of becoming the government. Having ambition to become the government is not easy. It's easy to never do. However, I said it on the floor of the Vows when the budget was presented that I had no thought of censorship, but that does not mean what that I'm not qualified or not experienced. So, and I still maintain that position. But in the whole of Lagos State, let any leader, anybody come out to explain that Obasa approached me and he says that he wants to become a governor. Okay, sir, when you heard that, what actually came into your mind? My mind? It's not Obasa's time soon. It's like in general, when you go to war, you may come back, you may not come back. So as you can see me, I'm lively, I continue to enjoy myself, I'm not disturbed, I'm not packed up, and I'm not worried. So being simple, but to remove, they must follow the due process as I have said. We have rules, we have constitution. When you want to remove, you must do what? And the same time, that man that said Obasa took part in the removal of Honorable Abdullahi Belumi, Honorable Fumes, and those people that were suspended. And I've said it, let me repeat it. Honorable Belumi, right? Honorable Belumi is my brother, is my friend. I fondly call him Oga Wahidi till tomorrow. When he was removed, he was on the floor of the house. Probably he was presiding. When Teddy Osho was removed, she was in the house. And those who were suspended, they were around. And there was no involvement of police. And the house, the chamber was not broken into. And fake mace was not brought to the house. I'm not afraid of being people. Only there told you only in God. If you are a member of the house for 20 something and you are speaker for almost 10 years, they have not disturbed, but let them follow through procedure. And let us go. They are all my brothers and sisters. I've always been saying, you should know. The way I refer to them, my brothers, my sisters, my colleagues, so loyal, so dedicated, so these things. But for me, I am what I am. Nothing at all. Our governor has said it. I commend him and thank him for what he is doing. To Mr. President, to our GAC, they are our leaders, they are our fathers, we appreciate it. But the President and First Lady, I said somebody is my brother, we are asking for our relationship. When somebody is your brother, what will be your relationship? Hey, we are brothers and sisters now. My status in the house. I didn't strong I'm still the speaker. Go on. Yes. You want to ask for it? I'm still the speaker until the right thing has been done. If you want to remove me in the proper way. I will not protest it. But like, I will protest it. You know, we Muslims are the Muslims. We'll say if anything, I will say, in on the line. But in on the line, I don't know that's not the Lamapadas. But let us do it in the way it should be. It should be done. Sir, what you just said, are we expecting the legal? It's a matter of fact.
Wow, that is mind-boggling. Well, as a matter of fact, I think to a large extent, haven't been a speaker for 10 years. Mojisola Obasa understands the intricacies involved in the removal and replacement of a speaker. And I believe that those who also in the House, they understand the rules of the House. So, this is a man who is telling the whole world right now, because he called a press conference. He's telling the whole world that, yes, I don't have to be a speaker for life. It's not a birthright. But if you have to remove me, let us follow due process. And then I begin to ask myself, what is wrong with Nigerians following due process? What is wrong with our leaders following due process? If there are laid down rules on how a speaker is appointed or elected, and there are also rules on how you can remove a speaker, why do we always do things, from the backyard? Why is it that the police is always available to be used whenever a state House of Assembly wants to have a change in leadership? It brings this whole thing about militarization, as if we're still in a military regime, as if we're still having dictators ruling this country. But this is a democratic system, and we all believe that democracy should start from the top down. But unfortunately, our leaders don't even know what democracy is all about. For them, it's all about power, grab it, snatch it, and run. And you see this being displayed every day in our daily lives. And then you ask yourself, how far are we ready to go as a nation? When will we sit back and begin to do the right things? When will we sit back and begin to allow the tenets of democracy as practiced all over the world to evolve in Nigeria? So in all of this, we keep asking ourselves, why is it that our political leaders do not even learn from history? Come to think about it. This is a speaker, and he's telling you that the fake maize was used. This is not the first time we're hearing about, fake maize being used. It simply shows that there is something terribly wrong in terms of leadership in this country. On the other hand, people have said that President Bola Ahmed Tinubu was not too keen at welcoming the new speaker, but I think it's all political. I believe that the GSC works hand in gloves with Mr. President, and I believe that whatever they're doing in Lagos must have the nod of Mr. President. But Mr. President, he's what I'll call the man who they call Mr. Fix-It, the strategist. And the thing about strategists, they have a way of doing things. They'll, push out their boys to do the things, and then they'll pretend they don't know. And at the end of the day, they're behind calling the shots. But they say this is really, really wrong. This is really bad for democracy. This is bad for leadership. Those who lead us must be accountable, must be responsible, must be transparent. And if those who are leading us are not, how do you want the people to be? And it brings back to the question, who is demarketing this country? Is it the ordinary man on the street who is dying of hunger, who has been pushed down by poverty, who is struggling to put meal on his table, to put a roof over his head, to send his children to school? Or is it the political class who are busy embezzling, bastardizing the economy, stealing left and right, living a life of affluence? So who is really demarketing this country? It is time Nigerians begin to think straight. And the truth is, our leaders are truly the ones demarketing this country. I just watched a video that makes me feel like crying. A video that seems to have taken away everything I believe in as a human being, as a Nigerian. Please watch this video.
Just listen to this. This is supposedly a woman of God during a new child's naming ceremony.
Nàìjíríà ọ̀dà. Tábà tí mo bá rò tí wọ́n ti fi yí ọdọ 16. Ó ti níye mílíọ̀nù tó jẹ́. Israel. Akọ́dẹ̀dẹ́. Èmi fi èdìdí bírò ilé ọlọ́wọ́ láti òní lọ. Lórílẹ̀-èdè Nàìjíríà nínú àwọn tí wọ́n máa fi bá rò kówó Nàìjíríà jẹ. Orúkọ rẹ̀ lọ́rùn. Ẹ bá ṣàmì dáadáa. Ọmọ yìí bá di gómìnà kò léwọ̀. Ó bá di sẹ́nitọ̀ kò léwọ̀. Nínú àwọn tí wọ́n máa fọwọ́ bá rò kówó Nàìjíríà jẹ.
Jesus Christ, what is really going on in this country? How did we get to this level of decadence? Level where we seem to have lost every morality, no values, no value system, nothing. I mean, what do we make of this? Child dedication. And suddenly, they now realize that you can use pen to steal. Sometimes we as parents, every parent wants the best for their child. But there's a limit to which we can take this whole madness to. Suddenly, a mother is dedicating a child. And rather than dedicate this child to God with good principles, good mannerism, they're just encouraging this child from birth to begin to learn how to use biro to steal. Who do we really blame? Do we blame the mother of the child? Do we blame the woman who has been called to dedicate the child? Or do we blame the kind of leadership that's been bestowed on Nigerians? We all know, some of the sins of Obasa, or some of the alleged sins of Obasa, Mojisola Obasa, the former Speaker of the Lagos House of Assembly. Some people say he built a gate with 16 billion naira. Some people say he bought fleet of cars for himself and some members of the State House of Assembly. Some people say he was just appropriating money to himself and to whoever he wished. And we also hear that he owns, like he's becoming the only landlord of Agege 1. Interesting. The question is, what was he before he became a speaker? Putting that behind us, let us also take out Mr. President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, who has held sway in Lagos for as long as he could. It's the same thing. People have alleged that he owns houses, he owns cars, he owns half of Lagos, so to say. These are what people are alleging. You move up to the southeast, Governor Hope Uzodinma is there. People keep talking about him. You go to the north, the former governor of Kano State, Gandoje, is there. There is no part of this country you go to today that the leaders have not been accused of being the brains behind corruption, behind embezzlement. So, it appears that Nigerians are rather being forced to accept the fact that hard work is useless. Everybody wants to be a politician because that seems to be the only fastest way for anybody to be rich in this country. But how long can we continue like this as a nation? How long can we continue in a country where nobody is sure of tomorrow? In a country where the only thing that makes sense is grab it, snatch it, and run. It sounds very, very simple, but it's a reality we're all faced with. When we're talking about the political class, we talk of those in the business world. The same thing. You go to the churches, religious institutions, the same thing. You go to the mosque, the same thing. How did we get to this level of decadence? How did we get to this level where, nothing really counts but wealth? And then Let me ask, who has ever died and gotten buried with all the wealth they have acquired? No one. And if money was something that could bring people back to life or keep people alive, the likes of MK Abiola late, the likes of Abacha wouldn't be dead today. Why are we not learning? Why are we not thinking out of the box? This country belongs to every one of us. This world is just it's so simple. I don't know why people just behave as if with all the wealth, they will take it to the grave. And you forget that your next of kin, they're always standing by. That's the irony of life, But in all of this, let us look at, what's going to happen in Lagos in the next few weeks. Obviously, I see an Obasa going to court. I see a lot of rancor happening in the State House of Assembly. And I see, the governor taking a position, standing behind the new speaker. And I also likely see, the presidency already standing behind the new speaker. Trust me, in the next few weeks, if Obasa stands by his press conference, it's going to be a serious legal tussle in Lagos. And who will suffer the most? Your guess is as good as mine.